Hey guys, Mike here. So hope everybody had a great holiday. I know my family and I did, and it felt very strange not doing a video for 3 days, but it was really nice and taking a break. And so I told you I'd give you a Saturday video and answer all your questions. I appreciate those. And one of the questions was going over all the plans for TradingView, which a lot of you guys signed up for. Appreciate that. Let me know if you have any questions on it. Again, I'll make that part of Saturday's video, but I'll go over those plans because it looks like there will be a Cyber Monday sales. I told you that's what they normally do every year, and I'll show you a little something in that you might not have noticed as well. But I can see, you know, what happens during Thanksgiving week, right? Definitely green, markets roaring like crazy. And one of the questions which kind of I guess goes into that week is, you know, that these themes we're talking about. And so we'll get into all your questions and stuff, which entails a lot, and they were really good ones. But, you know, looking at the charts real quick, we'll get detailed in this tomorrow. You can see, for those who didn't pay attention, during the holidays, obviously another day, another all-time high for SPY right there. I think it's the 54th new all-time high this year. Qs, what a great setup. What drama this is, right? It looks like it's ready to just explode higher right here coming in the next week, or coming into December, right? That's what we got to look at. IWM, once again, you know, sitting here, it looks like it's ready to try to move up and explode higher. It depends on if that theme actually continues. And that was really the first question. What are these themes you keep talking about in your videos, and will they continue? Well, the themes are just really what's been taking place since the election, right? And so what's one theme? Tesla. Okay, Elon Musk, Trump, boom, Tesla moving up. Now it's kind of in this range right now. What's another theme? It's been Palantir. It's just stocks that are working, right? It's just certain sectors that are working as well. And so, of course, Palantir, explosion up right there. And, you know, it looks like it wants to continue to move up, but it took some consolidation as well, which is actually a good thing. We talked about that. Of course, cryptocurrency is still going crazy right now. So that's a good thing, because why? Every other day, it seems like President Trump is tweeting out something about regulation or not taxing this or doing this. And so that's going crazy. Fintech, you know, and I'm putting this against the SPY, right? And you can see Fintech's been doing really good, except for Square, by the way. Still a laggard. And then you look at like software stocks. Boom, this is all since the election. Doing very well versus the SPY right there, even though, like I said, it seems like everything needs to take a break because of this big move up. IWM is kind of in both, right? Exploded after the election, sold back down, gave back all the gains, then exploded again. And I'm going to show you a real short clip of a video I put out last week for the members to show you exactly what's happening to IWM. Because remember, these companies are a lot of them are debt-ridden, you know, very risky type of companies. And so here's what's really happening on IWM that are doing this, and show you how crazy this is. Okay, this isn't fundamentals. Look at these kind of stocks. Air mobility stocks. I haven't looked at these in so long, but I want to show you what's happening. These things have just went absolutely crazy. This one's on the Russell. Okay, it's going up massive percentages. I mean, you can see the chart, right? And look at this thing right here. This is what's happening. 55 million shares. Boom, it's going crazy right now. And a lot of these sold off today. You saw profit taking, right? This another one. I mean, some of these up 20 to 100%. This one right here, sitting here with 49 million shares in the float. Then you come over here, this one right here. I forgot the name of it, but this one has more shares, but it has a 22% short float. It's up about 40% yesterday. Then you got something like Dave, for example, which is not an air mobility stock. This thing's up 700% year to date. Look at this. 8 million shares, 21% shortage on this thing. I think they're software or fintech or something, but it's up like 200%. And not that, you know, this is not good company on IWM, because there is, but, you know, this is just one of the things. How long will it continue? That's what we got to see. What's been lagging? You know, the Mag 7 stuff, which we'll get into in just a second. And of course, what else? Semis, you know, and you expect there would be a rotation into these at some point in time. Is it going to happen? That's what we're going to watch out for. And I'll show you what to look at. And that leads us into the next question, right? So it's like, hey, Mike, do you think semis will rally before end of year, sitting on a share of SOXL, which is the 3X leverage ETF? And one thing to watch here is just look at SOX divided by SPY, right? How it's performing against SPY. Because if you go back on this chart, you can see if that it moves up and breaks out, yes, then we can get it. And it's sitting in, coming into some nice support. This is the last time we did a nice move on semis, is when it came into that trend line, which goes pretty far back. But again, this is a ratio, so it lets you know that semis are outperforming the SPY, which means money's rotating into it. And so if that happens, great. But here's the thing. You only got to watch really one stock. Actually, truly, it's 5. But especially the one, which is NVDA, right? Which has been lagging. Why? Because NVIDIA makes up 10% of SOX all by itself. there's only like 6 stocks to make up 50% of it. Algo, AMD, Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Marvel. And so if those aren't moving, then no, you forget about it. Don't mean some individuals won't, but not as a group. And they usually do move as a group somewhat, with NVIDIA leading the way here. And so that's what we got to see. Again, looking at another one, SMCI. This is another question from John here. It says, with all the craziness surrounding SMCI, what are your thoughts and insight? Is it a buy, or do we stay till the chaos subsides? That's up to you and your risk profile, but understand what's happening here. It got destroyed even before they lost their auditors. It was getting nuked. Then they lost their auditor, which is never good. They hired another auditor, which is supposedly a top 5 accounting firm. But remember, they haven't looked at the books yet. They haven't gone through, and they're trying to stay listed on the NASDAQ. That's what's happening here. The key is, now, if you buy the stock and all of a sudden these auditors come out and say, well, no, we have to reclassify this revenue and that revenue and bring down guidance, guess what's going to happen to the stock? It's going down. But these are things we cannot predict. Okay, and I'll show you something very important about this, because this ain't the first time. But when you look at the chart, could this thing explode higher? Absolutely, right? If it breaks above that trend line, it's going to fill that gap. We're talking about a stock market. Again, this is just a guess. That's all this is a guess. Anybody buying this stock is just a guess to run it up. We're talking about a stock market where companies will say they're going to file bankruptcy and they run up 200%. All right, so that's what's happening now. So people are going, well, I'll just run it up, and if they come out with bad news, oh well. But understand, this ain't the first time. Like, SMCI was delisted in 2018 for, guess what? Delaying the filing of financial reports. That's what they're in now. So if they meet the compliance and stay listed and all the revenue stays where it needs to stay and be classified correctly, everything's good. If they come out and get delisted, guess what's happening to the stock? And so it's up to you what you want to do with that one. Now, next one comes from Brandon. He said, are you hearing anything about a possible Netflix stock split? I think there actually will be a stock split, and the reason why is because of the history. Okay, so here's their stock split history. Netflix has split its stock twice. 2 for 1 in 2004, 7 for 1 in 2015. 2015, it was going around $700 a share, and it did 7 for 1. Obviously, I believe we're higher than that right now. And so, I think a lot of people are waiting for this because they're getting up there. And companies do stock splits because the price of stock just gets so high that it loses interest from retail investors and stuff, and they won't do it, so they want to attract more investors. So they'll do the stock split. I mean, Tesla's done it many times. You've seen NVIDIA do it a lot as well. And when you look at the chart right here, you can see, obviously, we're sitting at $800 and something a share. And, when I look at this, I mean, it's had a huge run. I started drawing trend lines on this thing. Remember, if they announce the stock split, here's your problem. If they announce the stock split, what happens to the stocks? They normally run up until the split, because usually the splits are a month, 2 months out, and they'll run up, and then they do the stock split, and then, people will take profit because it ran up a lot or something. A lot of times what happens, and then they'll get a dip, and then they'll start to run back up. And so looking at that trend line right there, looking at the last few peaks, pulling a fib on this thing. If they do announce it, let's say tomorrow, which I don't think they will, but let's say that happened, you could see Netflix sit here and run up to that trend line, which is around like 950, 960, somewhere in there. And then we'll see what happens when they do the split. Normally you will get that dip down. And the other thing you don't know is, like, what's the split going to be? It's just a guessing game, okay? And so that's your problem. You're saying, what's your buy-in target? It's like, well, when they announce a stock split, if it follows all the rest of the stocks, it's going to continue to move. Just look what happened to Chipotle and NVIDIA, which are the last two I can think of when they announced their stock split. Walmart was another one. And so, yeah, I do think they'll announce it. I just don't know when they're going to announce it. So let me know what you think in the comments on that one. Next one here says, supposing the market could have a pull down in the coming months, where would the money from sellers go? Straight cash, bonds? Remember, the cash is a position, folks. Hopefully people figure that out in 2022, and I was screaming at the ceiling. The cash is a position, and anybody tells you any different is a moron. That's just, I don't mean to be harsh about it, but that's just the truth, okay? And when you look at it, yeah, can it go into bonds? Absolutely. Depends on what's going on with the yields. It depends on what's going on in the market. It depends on why we're pulling back in the first place, okay? But, of course, TLT is obviously heavily underperforming, of course. But when you start looking at areas that just aren't in this rally we've been on, depending on when we pull back, of course, that's what you can do. You can just look through a list of stuff and say, well, what's been really underperforming here? And you could see rotation in there. It just depends on why we're pulling back. Is it because of the economy? That's a whole different story, right? But if it's just a natural, oh, here we go, this pullback, we ran up too much, well, that's different. Most people are just going to take it, go into cash, and then rotate into something else that's underperforming, and then they're going to run that up. But if it has to do with the economy, like something goes wrong with banks or something like that, that's a whole different story. Then it's going to be going into cash, in bonds for sure. But I mean, just go through and start looking at what's underperforming. And then, of course, yes, cash and bonds will probably be the number one. But again, it has to do with why we are pulling back, what is causing that pullback. Now, the next two here basically have to do with the same thing. So, question, the PE of some of the major Chinese names are at or below 10. At what point do these cash cows catch a bid? At some point, won't these take off? Next one here, hey man, what do you think about FMCC? I have no idea what that is. I saw it going up one day. I'm going to scroll down here. Do you ever think money will rotate back into Chinese stocks like Baba or Billy? I own some streaming stocks like DOYU that are down 95%. Now, when you look at this, I've talked about this before. You know, they almost all of them have given back. The ones that did get the stimmy gains, stimmy stands for stimulus. Then, you know, at some point in time, they'll catch a big just because that's the way it works. And if you look at the charts, I mean, this is the time when, you know, Baba and Baidu and PDD and some of these have caught bids because now they're in a huge discount range in an area where they've caught bids in the past. Or China will come out once again and say, hey, look at us. We're going to stimulate the economy again. All right. But understand, when you come to these stocks, it's not like they're hanging the moon on earnings here. I mean, look at Alibaba. Yeah, they may have a lot of cash, but I mean, revenue growth year over year, 5%. And then you look at the margins, they're fine, you know, and yes, they do have cash and stuff, but people act like they're just putting up NVIDIA type earnings. You go over to Amazon, you know, it's twice year over year, 11% year over year revenue growth. They have a ton of cash on hand, and they're not in a country that, you know, will crush them like the Chinese government did to them. And also, we don't have a crazy real estate market we can't fix. We don't have a demographic issue as bad as theirs, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff, right? I mean, and Billy, I'd never even looked at this one before, but oh boy, I mean, it used to be $160 stock going for 19 even now. So you say to yourself, can they catch a bid? Eventually, probably, somebody's going to try to run this thing up. And the question of, you know, again, when are they going to pump? Your guess is as good as mine because you've seen it. What pumps them? Stimulus talk. That's it. Right? It ain't the earnings that pumps these stocks. I think they all dropped on earnings, didn't they? You know, and again, the thing is, when people look where they want to put their money, they say, I can put it in Amazon, I can put it in Shop, which is a high flyer, right? I can put it Palantir and Tesla, all these different companies, NVIDIA, all these different companies, you know, and I can invest in a country like America whose government is literally bribed by these companies and whose politicians invest in these companies knowing they're doing insider trading because they know knowledge when these companies are getting contracts and what legislation is going to pass and what DOJ, are they really going to break up Google, you know, and all that good stuff. And you'll see it if you start seeing politicians buying a Google all of a sudden, you know the DOJ is going to just drop the whole thing about them having to sell Chrome or whatever. And so, you know, people they're putting money here right now. Now, if America ever has issues, right, then of course, yes, they'll start looking for stuff that's underinvested and go, okay, let's run those up. Same way they did when they started introducing the stimulus stuff, and everybody, all the billionaires, were like, we're going there, boom, more, David Tapper said. And so that's when you'll probably see it. The ones that are down 95%, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know anything about that company, Billy or FMCC or whatever it's called. So that's a whole different story. Now, Dr. Mark says, this is kind of a dark question. Mr. has had a lot of hype behind it, and understand we so always like to be paranoid and was thinking that God forbid something happened to Michael Saylor, jail time, lawsuits, death, all that good stuff. Could they just dump their Bitcoin and realize all their gains if they wanted to, or is there some sort of contingency plan to keep Mr. running under Saylor's long-term vision? And the truth is, if they wanted to dump it, they could just dump it, right? I mean, that's what they wanted to do. But understand, Mr., I think everybody has this misconception. This is some long-term investment. And if you pull up the chart, you'll see it's just like a crypto. That's what the stock chart looks like. Like, this isn't something you buy in at 700 and go, I'm going to hold for life. Not really, because if it does like every other cycle, it's going to drop massively. You just saw, I mean, how fast did it drop, last week? I mean, a lot, like 30% or something in like a few days. And so that stock chart is like a crypto. Okay, that's what it is. Now, can they do that? Sure. As far as like if they wanted to outvote him and change his path, what I read was he owns like at least 45%, maybe even 50% of the common share of vote. So that would be hard to do. But yeah, anybody can pass away or something can happen to them or whatever. But, you know, for them, it makes no sense to change it because I'm sure they're making a killing, especially the insiders. They know when to buy, they know when to sell, you know, all that fun stuff. And so I don't see why they would do that. Now, last one here. Says, hey, Mike, for Saturday, I'd love to know the difference between the different TV plans. That's TradingView. I don't day trade, but use TA and FA for my stock picks. Will the essential plan suffice, or will I miss out on something significant offered by the bigger plans? I've read through it, but it isn't quite clear. The big thing, and this person's talking about the Black Friday sale, which now I think is going to end up being, that's already expired. So it should be Cyber Monday. I saw this. I didn't get an email on this, but I saw it come out in something. So I think this is going to happen Monday. So you get the same thing. But the key is two things here. When you look at these plans, if you don't trade, I don't think you need the top one. But when you look at this, look at the difference between plus and premium. There's only $1, right? They're trying to push you into the premium. There's no doubt about that. But the big thing, you have to answer this for yourself. I don't know. But when you look at this, it's all about how many charts per tab, how many indicators do you need, how many historic charts do you need, how many alerts, which is the big thing, I think, is the alerts, do you actually need. So how many indicators are you using, right? MACD, RSI, moving averages, and then how many alerts do you need? I think are the two biggest ones. And so you can see in the middle, you're going to end up getting the 10 indicators and then 100 technical alerts. And then in the largest one, 25 indicators and then 400 technical alerts. So if you're not trading, I don't think you need the top plan. I think the middle plan would suffice. Let's say you get into stocks, right? And they have 20 stocks in their portfolio and they got these alerts. And usually 5 indicators would work, right? I mean, MACD, RSI, moving averages, and 2 more should work. But it's your alerts to get the problem, right? Especially if you start opening up your portfolio and start going into crypto. Now all of a sudden you're going to need even more alerts, and they start running out of alerts. That's what I see happening, right? And it happened to me. And so I just kept moving up the plans as I needed them. That's what I did. So start off with the basic, and then just try to move up, right? Every year or something if that's going to work. But I think the middle plan seems to work for the majority if you're not a trader. I think the middle plan should suffice, and because you shouldn't be having, I mean, that many freaking stocks or cryptos in your portfolio anyway. Because I mean, the middle one, you're talking about 100 technical alerts, so I would think that will be enough for sure. And so, you know, that's the way I went with it. I just moved up through the plans as I need them. And if I wasn't trading, I think the middle one was actually working well for me. So that's just me. But again, you have to be able to figure that out for yourself. And you can sit down there and just look at the charts and figure it out very quickly. So hopefully that helps. And we should have the cyber sale on Monday, which will last, I guess, 24 hours when it does come out and stuff. And again, appreciate you guys who signed up for it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll start putting them in Saturday's video. I know I have a lot of members that ask questions, which I'm going to do private videos for them. And then some I'll put in Saturday's video as well. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you did. Tomorrow we'll set up for the week, and we got a lot of economic data coming out. A whole bunch, as a matter of fact. So it'll be a big week ahead. And hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. And I will see you tomorrow.